That's the most significant new discovery, and we've had several at Silver Tiger so far. It hasn't got any traction because nobody cares. I can guarantee you I care, because I can't wait to get that ore, which is not that far under our feet, where we've developed into in that mill. That's when people will care.
This is Jay Martin.
All right, here I am with Glenn Jessome, the CEO of Silver Tiger Metals. Glenn, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for making the time.
Jay, appreciate being here, and great to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. And so, look, here's where I want to start. I want to talk about silver today. I want to get your thoughts on some recent developments in Mexico where you're focused. I've had a couple of questions from audience members about the significance of those events. And then obviously get into what you're building with Silver Tiger. Starting with the silver sector then, silver is still sitting at less than half of its previous all-time high, whereas gold is now hitting that all-time high. Kind of, we're waiting to see if it's going to break out from there. What are your thoughts on silver supply and demand economics right now? Why do you think the price hasn't performed as gold has? And what's your expectation there for what might be around the corner?
Well, I'm gonna first step back and say we love the price of silver right now. We love the price of gold right now. We've been in Mexico, our group, building mines for 27 years. 3 mines built already in production, all moved on to big corporate owners. 3 times we sold to corporates. We're building 2 mines now in our respective companies. But we've mined silver at $9, $12, gold at $3.50. So when you look at what we want to do, which is get to the end point of all the drill holes, all the work, everything is to build a mine and make metal. Making metal at these levels is extremely exciting. We see this, though, as a fundamental change, and we didn't think it. We thought that the high for gold was going to be 2,000, and we love $21, $22 silver. We're almost adjusting as we get ready to put our mines in production that this could be the new floor. It's a very good place to be. Now, the sentiment's not there. I don't need to tell you that. There's no interest in just a junior out there delivering fantastic drill results or doing work and consolidating as concessions. That's the problem. The interest has left. Price is still great. Do we think it's going up from here? Yes. But I'm not going to speak to why I think it's terrible. We think it's pretty good.
I love that perspective. And it reminds me of when we chatted on stage at the VRIC. I was asking you similar questions, right? And you weren't deflecting, but you were like, look, price doesn't matter. My job is to build a mine. My job is to make metal. And that's what I've been doing for 25 years. And I'm going to keep doing that. So the price can do whatever the price does.
And just to throw in on that, I mean, all of our planning is done today at $21 silver and $1,700 gold. So we're smiling as it is right now with that new floor or new blip. That's what we think the floor is. We'll see. It's a slip back. It'll go up. But it's all, as they say, how do they say it? It's all gravy from here for us. So and we think it will improve. Just demand alone for silver will make it improve in our lifetime. The way that the world is going with the new electrification, it has to.
So sentiment being what it is, you guys still managed to put 18 million in the treasury a couple months ago. I want to talk about where you're allocating that capital. Prior to that, though, could we touch on news developments in Mexico? There's been a little bit of bad press, maybe unwarranted, about policy changes within the country and how they may affect mining companies. And I'd love to hear your perspective on those changes and what they really mean.
Well, from our perspective, a lot of people are running around with their hair on fire. A lot of this is politicking. We're within a year or so of a new election for president in Mexico. Moreno is the ruling party now. They are a very populist party, and they've done some very, very good things for the general population of Mexico with respect to welfare, with respect to those suffering poverty. And they always look at the opportunity, how can we protect our country and our resources? They should. Canada does it. The United States does it. There's been a little bit of catch up with what the rest of the world is doing. what we see in that part of the world usually is when a new law comes into being, and I can speak from experience here. We have 27 years of relationship with government at every level in Mexico, with Semarnet, with the governments in the states we operate in. And so there is always as in any lobbying you'd see in the United States or Canada, when that law is proposed, then all of the individual groups, we have board of directors that serve on the various industry segments within Mexico that are the liaise with the government to make sure that the law reflects what really the miners need at the end of the day. Let's just say this started as a 100. And by the time it was passed, it was a 10. That's the way I want to explain it. The problem is that when the 100 was proposed before it was passed, everybody's hair went on fire. And people are opportunistic. You start getting all these law firms in Mexico sending out, the end of the world is here. If you're a mining company, you need our help. The press picks up on that. Really what happened in the end was, in our opinion, and I don't say this lightly, really better for established companies like us, very much better. Because as two examples, in the law when it was proposed, you were only going to be able to use 30% of the aquifer for mining, water. That was removed. That was a concern to us. Such other things as 10 and 5-year concessions. We're fine because we've been long-term miners there, and we pay all our concessions for everything we have. On my company in Tigre, the first concession coming up for renewals in 2047. I hope I'm still alive in 2047, Jay. That would be my big goal, to be still here breathing air. Plus, we could get an extension on that. That turned into 30 and 25 from 10 and 5. So as you can see, what came out is not what's been passed. We think it's better for us for various reasons. There are a lot of companies. We usually buy our concessions and projects over 27 years. It doesn't matter if we buy it from a public company, or it doesn't matter in which we've taken over, or if we buy it from a family. And this is important. Nobody was paying their concessions. The first $1 million or $1.5 million we pay in any purchase price is to pay all the back taxes every time. And that wasn't the way it should be. It's not the way it is in Canada. If you don't pay your concessions, you don't keep them, or the United States. So what was put in place by saying, if you don't pay your concessions and you're a year behind, you lose your concession, I applaud that. Because the first thing you should do is, when you get in the country and you lock down a land package, you better be able to pay the small little tax to be able to exploit it and to do the work on it. So I think that is the one effect that's come out of it that basically I think will affect some companies. For us, it's an advantage. The last thing is, it was almost like a line in the sand. Once, because we have permits for Tigre. We've applied for a heap leach permit. Some of our other businesses, which you're familiar with, are in permitting phase. And you heard all the other information coming out while this law over the last year is being in place. There'll be no more heap leach permits in Mexico. Ridiculous. 65% of all precious metals mined in Mexico are heap leaches. They're not going to turn that off. And there'll be no permits. What we really think, from what we're hearing and seeing, is that the tap will now open, and a lot of projects in the queue to get permitted will get permitted, including open pit heap leach permits. So keep your eye on that. Very positive news coming on that front, I think. And for us, it was, and I don't use this word lightly, a nothing burger. That's the way we thought about it. First, if it had been passed like it was, would have been problematic. That's not what happened. So in our opinion, we don't think about it anymore. And since all of our mining operations are in Mexico, we would be thinking about it if it was a problem. Full stop.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. No, I appreciate that perspective.
And it's nice for your viewers to have that from someone who's there, not from a person who wrote a little article online, and not picking on a law firm who's trying to say, look, this could be all problems. You should call us because you have big problems and we'll fix them for you. Send me a retainer. That, a lot of that was that, and now it's settled. So it's good.
Well, good perspective from a lawyer, right, Glenn? Right?
There you go.
All right, let's jump into Silver Tigre.
I'm allowed to criticize my own without getting too much trouble. So there you go.
Yeah, I like that. I want to jump into the Silver Tigre story. Let's start, and let's assume whoever's watching this doesn't know a thing. So at the highest level, how do you explain Silver Tigre to a new prospective shareholder?
Well, the way I would explain it is track record you have to, and we talked about that at the beginning. We've been there for 27 years, and our group built 3 large mines, sold 3 more to majors. Selling to majors is not something, that's not a business plan. That's hope, and so we never set out to do that. When we step on a project, every hole, everything we do is to someday we're going to build a mine. Sometimes along the way, as has happened to us with Agnico, we sold to very, very large. They buy de-risk projects, especially now. That's permitted and either built or almost built. So if that happens, and it's happened about 50% of the time with us over 6 big projects. So we were in Mexico and we were looking for a killer asset for Silver Tiger, and we found one. A large land package in Sonora, a very good mining state. Really partnered up with some shareholders who had moved the project in a public company out of Vancouver as far as they could. And we stepped in 17, did a little bit of bought that public company, delisted it, put it in Silver Tiger and got at it. Reader's Digest version, not easy. You know how tough the market is right now, but we've been, because of track record, because of the asset, because I think the institutional investor knows at the end of the day, worst case scenario is we will build a mine there, and we're permitted for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we've put about, call it $100 million in this thing, to get it to the point where we see we've done the underground development, we've got a permit for the 800 ton per day mill, and we've got a sight line to enough ore to make this a very, very, very profitable mine. And that's what that money is required to get to that stage. That's where we are now. Who gave us the money? It's very funny, and we talked about this, how the silver companies have evolved. Let's use it from a point of the summer of 2020. There was a lot of excitement about silver then. There was a lot of new companies entering the space, and the institutions were very excited about putting money into a lot of different companies. And so as they do, they choose who they think is going to make it. They know they're not all going to make it. They just that when put the money in. Like, if I don't know, what's the percentage of juniors that build a mine? Is it 1%? Someone should do a study. Is it 0.2%? Is it 1 or 2%? It's a very low number. So then the next, after that, February 2021 came, and it's really been systematic, the institutions following on. It's been every February, 21, 22, 23. And the number of companies that have gone through each of those hurdles and got the follow-on financing, like El Tigre, Silver Tiger, to be where we are ready to build our mine now, has got smaller and smaller. Say we started with 30, summer of 2020. I'm making that number up. And by February 2021, the first open window for a couple of weeks, say 12 got financed. Silver companies, that's globally by the institutions. Now, there's all kinds of others getting financing other ways, but I'm talking our lead shareholders are Franklin Templeton, Sprott Asset Management, Merck, Vanek, Fourth Sail, those types of institutions, and a number of others, smaller ones than that. So in February 2021, we did our work. They liked what they saw. We got another $23 million. Bought deal, straight up, common shares. All the banks in Toronto took part in it. February 2022 comes. Very interesting to watch this. This is the way I gauge success for us. The list got shorter. The window opened for about 2 weeks in February, early March. All the silver financings globally got done. Let's call it 8 or 9 companies got done. And we got another 23, 20 plus went through the shoe, used all that money to drive the ore, to delineate what we had to do to get ready to build a mine, because that's what they want us to do. That's what we always plan to do. And then this year it got tough. The window opened a crack. And in my opinion, I'm not going to name the companies, 5 companies, and got some institutional funding. I could be wrong either way, 1 or 2 companies, but we all know the market. And you could list those on your hand that the institutions really backed in a bought deal, strong financing. There were 5. We were, again, funded by all those same shareholders. We only took 18 million this time. That was the right number for us. Got about 30 million in the bank still, and we execute our plan. And the execution of the plan, now that you know where we are money-wise, but that's a long road. That's not, you don't raise $10 million and build a mine. You have to raise it as you go to get to the point where you say, it is a mine in your eyes, because the team we have seen it so many times and done it, and then you execute the plan. And that's where we are right now. We'll come out with a PEA Call it September. That's my goal. That PEA will be the roadmap to build the project. The second part of that will be the global resource update that we'll come out with at that point also. And put that all on the books, and with a real roadmap of how we basically start with the underground we've already developed fully into, and an 800 ton per day mill to process a lot of ore we already have at the surface and what we will mine from the underground. And then the second part of that, and we have a permit for that, a historic permit for the 800 ton per day mill. So we're in great shape. We can execute all that and we have the money. That's a nice place to be. Nice time to be building a mine quietly when the sentiment is where it is right now, and move your project forward for the better times to come. Second part of that, you'll see in that PA, the whole roadmap is a lot of people didn't forget, but we didn't make a big spiel about it because we weren't ready for what we are now. When we first got the project, drilled off a million ounces of gold only in the halo around those veins at surface. Beautiful open pit resource, called a 2-to-1 strip. Leaches like magic because it's all gold. We have applied for that permit for that heap leach. We're moving that very fast forward. We expect, I can't guarantee, we expect, as we always have got every permit we've ever gone for in 27 years in Mexico, we will get that. That's not for tomorrow. That will be after we finish getting the mill in production, transitioning with the ore at surface to the underground. Then you've got the heap leach. That'll look like a 5,000 ton per day standard heap leach in Mexico. Call the ore real nice grade, not quite a gram, but should be near that with the rest of the work we have to do. So that's the way in this market that you basically, with the money you have, get in production on the mill and then transition to the heap leach, and you wake up in 3 years and this isn't a small mine anymore. It's a very profitable mine, and I'm not going to share the numbers, wait for the PEA. But as we look over the horizon, we absolutely love the free cash flow we think this thing is going to generate when this is all bolted together and we get to that high grade underground ore shortly before the heap leach comes online. So that's the way we think you have to do it now. The problem is the world's changed, and there are different ways to do it, and we've done it different ways. Drilling off the next 100 million silver equivalent ounces, and then that's wonderful. Good grade, and then moving that to PEA pre-fees, and then staring $150 million capex spend. That's got tougher and tougher, because even with price, that sentiment's just not there that we see, Jay. Could come back tomorrow. But this is the way why we decided to do this 18 months ago. And I think this is what you'll find. Where we made the right decision was when we basically, and we're exploring too, always. I mean, some of the drill results that we put out, go look at them. You can't beat them. But what we start to see is, and vindicate it, that when we said 18 months ago, okay, we need to get to production as fast as possible. We can't say we're going to do a 2,000 ton per day. Let's go to 800 and let's get some of that cash flow so we can explore this thing. Let's move that heap leach down the road, because, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but we have to adapt, and shareholders have to adapt in what they invest in. Drill results are dead right now. I mean, they are dead. I mean, I put out holes in the last 3 or 4 months. Go look at some of them. 40, 50 meters in a sulfide zone we newly discovered. Call it a massive sulfide of well over a kilo, and nobody cared. And it's not like people don't see it. I mean, we have an established company. And I think that when we started seeing these kind of results get no traction, we said, I think we made the right decision to start to get to production as soon as possible, because we have enough ore in front of us. We'll get to that. Those drill results aren't going anywhere. That sulfide zone will get much bigger. Maybe in a year and a half or a year from now, when you put out 40 meters of a kilo and a half, people are going to go, wow, you should go up by 10%, not down by 2%. So that's really where we are. And it's all about, at the end of the day, and this is our mantra, and it's not sexy, if that's the word I can use, is you got to build a business. You know, I remember repeating this again. We have a district going to drill holes. We're going to get some paper together, and a major is going to buy us. That's hope, because we've been around that for 30 years. We've sold 3. It's very difficult. So you always have to. It can't be binary. That's who we are. We're not binary. Yeah. We are always The worst case is we're going to put this in production now and then slowly turn it into a beautiful small mine and turn it into a big mine over time, instead of, okay, if we don't get that 100 million silver equivalent ounces and build the $200 million CapEx project, well, I guess we just walk away. That's not who we've been our whole careers. We can't be. So we're always looking at, and it's a bad word. We're not looking at the downside, but the downside in our world is always okay, because you're going to build a profitable mine. That's our business model.
It's a decent downside, and it's not shocking, the response to your drill results. Like, how many times have we seen that, right? In a bear market in the resource sector, nobody cares. It doesn't matter how good your news is. No. I should say, qualify that by saying retail doesn't care, right? Reflecting back on what you shared about your financing in the late winter in February of 2023, you were able to top up the treasury significantly, right? 18 mil is nothing to shake your head at. I'm seeing a lot of financings right now hit my desk, and companies are looking for 600,000, 2 million, 1 million. That's not productive capital. You can't do a lot with that in this business. And I caution investors, when they see opportunities like that, to really think through what the near-term future of that company might look like. And I'll just point out as well, because we talked about the news developments in Mexico when you shared your perspective on there, and then you shared the fact that maybe 5 or 6 silver companies got financed in February. You're in Mexico, Vizsla got money, they're in Mexico, MAG got money, they're in Mexico. And so that does add some credibility to the
Go Gold's a very related company to us.
Correct.
They got 50 million. So, another one of our group's companies. So yes.
And that sheds a bit of light on how the institutional money is perceiving those policy changes in Mexico. Obviously, it's a nothing burger for the right projects, and they see it that way as well. Okay, Glenn, I want to leave it here in terms of next steps for news flow. I mean, we touched on a number of catalysts over the last 5-10 minutes, but what's next in terms of what prospective shareholders can look forward to? Is it the PEA in September? Like, what do you feel like is the next piece of news that investors should look out for?
I would say keep your eyes on. We have 4 types of mineralization. When we got to, this is important. Every mine we built in Mexico has had 2 types. We call them the flowering epithermal system. Really simple. At the top, you've got a big open pit where you get that dissemination of mineralization outside the veins at surface, and then you underground after that 1-2 meters of your countertop, that quartz vein. That's always been mining in Mexico. We were very lucky in that about 1.5 years ago, we found a 3rd type, a shale horizon, just under where we've developed into, 25 meters under our feet, where we developed into the old mine, commercial development. We thought that was our prize. What started to come out last fall and through the spring here is this new, call it a massive sulfide zone. We've delineated the first 200 meters of that. It's 200 meters already by 60, 70 meters wide by 20 meters thick of ore that's approaching 1 kilogram. We think that has great growth potential. You'll see drill results coming on that. That's the most significant new discovery, and we've had several at Silver Tiger so far. It hasn't got any traction because nobody cares. I can guarantee you I care, because I can't wait to get that ore, which is not that far under our feet, where we've developed into in that mill. That's when people will care. And the second thing is PEA. PEA will come out September. I'm pushing for Beaver Creek so I can launch it there. I don't know if we'll make it. We think we will. That PEA will be the roadmap for the mill, getting into the high grade underground, transitioning to build that heap leach, and then you're going to see a real robust economic mine to start. Remember why we have that? We got 35 kilometers of this. We've been exploring the middle 2 or 3 kilometers. That's where everything is. That's how you explore the district. That's the second thing. And there'll be some other news. We'll talk more about our permit. We already have hopefully some updates on the heap leach permit. Keep an eye for that into the later in the year or whenever it does come. And also we've arranged, when you build a mine like this, you need the best in the world. We are on the verge of getting one of the best mine builders to join our team that's basically ever built heap leach and underground mines in Mexico. When I say built them, more than 5. He can count his mines he's built You can't count them all in one hand. We'll be announcing that person joining the team and really driving the build of the underground, the heap leach over the next several years. So exciting times. That's the news flow that we're going to be looking forward to.
All right. I love it, Glenn. We'll look out for that. And love to have you back on and get an update further down the road as we get into late summer.
That would be great, Jay.
Some of those big events. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming back on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay. We appreciate being here.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Now, if you want to take the next step, I publish a weekly newsletter and it's free. There's a link to subscribe right beneath this video, and you can join me and 50,000 other investors weekly for this exclusive content where I share my key action items and takeaways from conversations just like this and plenty others. Thanks for stopping by.